That time of year again, Allure has just released their best of winners for 2022, and today I will be testing out the Clean Beauty 2022 winners. I also subbed in a couple other products from the list that were also clean, or just additional products that I needed to sort of fill out the full face, because sometimes the lists are weird and there's some clean products that aren't in the Clean Beauty winners, but there might be in like the lip product winners. So I went ahead and sifted through all the lists to gather all the products that I have to share with you today. So I'll be testing everything and letting you know if I think this product deserved the win or not. I think these videos are super fun to make, inspired by Allie Glines. She does the best of beauty every year. If you are familiar with Allie Glines, give this video a thumbs up. Love her videos, and this was totally inspired by the videos that she does every year. So let's go ahead and get to the products. So the first winner that I have from the Clean Beauty category is the Ilia Lip Wrap Reviving Balm. This was sort of included in the skincare portion of it. This is a really nice lip balm. I do like how it has this like metal tip to it, nice and cooling. They also make this lip balm in a jar form, which I really like. This has a beautiful texture. It's not too oily, so it doesn't like slip into your mouth. That sounds weird, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't like those lip products that just like you taste a lot. So this one's really nice, a good like medium consistency, good prep for makeup. I mean, what else can you really say about lip balm? Like, yeah, it is good. Do I necessarily feel like it's worth the extra money? Not necessarily, because there's a lot of other just good lip balms out there. But for being in the Clean Beauty like higher end category, yeah, it's a good lip balm. Next, the foundation winner is the Kosas Revealer Skin Improving Foundation. This is something that I totally agree with being on the list. This one is actually almost empty. This is one of my favorite foundations. It's always in my rotation. It has a really nice medium coverage. It also has SPF 25, but it's not a chemical SPF. It is mineral, which I love. And I have the lightest shade here, which is 100. And I'm just gonna go ahead and apply this with my sponge. This is a slightly thicker consistency foundation, so I tend to use like a little bit less than I normally would with a thinner foundation, but as you can see, just gives really great coverage. If you want like my full review, wear test, all that jazz, I do have a full video on this if you are interested. I also think this shade is a really nice match for me. It has nice like more like beigey olivey undertones, which is very hard to find in foundations. I do want to add, this isn't the longest lasting or most natural looking foundation, which I'm totally fine with for it being like a more medium buildable coverage, but it does look really nice on the skin. Has like a slightly dewy finish, but if you have oily skin or you like end up just getting a little bit oily by the end of the day like I do, it does hold up, but I would really recommend setting this with a more mattifying powder. So this foundation I think really deserved to win this year. It is one of my favorite foundation launches from the year for sure, so well deserved. I think Kosas did a really good job with this formula. They also have the Westman Atelier foundation stick, not on the Clean Beauty winner list, but on a different base category list, which I really like, but only if you have dry skin. I think that's the only scenario it's sort of worth the money. I think it looks beautiful at first, but it just wears off on me because it has too much moisture, like oil in it. So really nice like luxury formula, but I wouldn't recommend that one for everybody. And they also included the NARS Light Reflecting Foundation, which I tried and don't love as much as like everyone else loves it. So I think out of like all the foundations I saw being mentioned, this one's my favorite. Next is the concealer winner, which is the Honest Beauty Fresh Flex Concealer. I'm actually pretty surprised this was on the list. This is a new launch, or at least when I saw I thought it was a new launch. This is the shade Ivory. Honest Beauty's shade range is it can be all over the place. I did try this a couple videos back, and it claims to be a creaseless concealer. I don't really agree with that. I love this for spots. As you can see, I am just putting it on my face for a little bit extra coverage. It has this really beautiful creamy texture, but it still remains on that like light side. I will be putting this under my eyes as well. It feels really hydrating, but does offer enough coverage so it doesn't like slip around like a lot of, you know, like lighter coverage concealers tend to do. And I'm gonna go ahead and blend this one out. I actually haven't tried this concealer under my eyes enough to like get a full opinion on it, but the times I have tried it, it did crease. We'll try a different powder today and see if that like makes any difference. But I do love the initial look of it. Just adds a nice amount of coverage, and on the face, love it. It's also one of those concealers, if you let it sit on your skin, it will give you a little bit more coverage, which I usually do for my spot areas. I really do stand by this for being a really great spot concealer. It's one of those formulas that when you put it on a spot, it sticks really well and the coverage stays where you put it. If you've tried a lot of different concealers on spots, breakouts, you may notice that some sort of like slip off. I definitely get that, especially when I'm using a sponge that can kind of absorb a lot of the product. But this, like, it stays where you need it to be and gives you that coverage, which is sometimes rare in a concealer. And this is a nice, like, more hydrating option, because if you put a concealer that's too drying on dry skin or breakout, it's going to accentuate it more. So I think this is just kind of like the perfect spot concealer in my opinion, but I do not think that it is great for under the eyes. It claims to be anti-creasing, but like just putting it on already, it's already creased into my lines, so it's like a semi-win for me. I do feel like it deserves a win for a spot concealer, but I don't think it is a nice under eye concealer. Packaging, by the way, is also very nice. It comes in a glass bottle and the doe foot applicator is great, so it's a half win for me. Before we set anything, let's talk about the cream products that were included on the list, because there's quite a few of them. Starting with the Saie Beauty Sun Melt Bronzer, this one in the bronzer category. This is the natural cream bronzer in the shade Light Bronze. I like this bronzer, but the shade range is just like not it for me. This is the lightest shade. That's just not like a super flattering bronze shade on me. If they had a better shade, I think this would be like so much of a winner in my book, because it has this nice creamy, but like more on that dry cream side. So if you do have more oily skin, like it's not going to just be like super greasy on your face, and it does last a good amount of time. Again, I have a full review on this if you're interested. But for this, I just like to work, this is a Luxie small contouring brush. Just the perfect size for bronzer, I think. And then I like to just work it in. And because the shade's not great, I'm going to start off with a small amount. If you do have deeper skin than me and you like warmer bronzers, I think this could be like a hit for you. But just not the most ideal shade for me, even though I do like the formula. And like it blends out really beautifully. It really doesn't look half bad when it's on. Like I actually really love this glowy effect that it gives me. It works really well with the foundation. So for me, this would be a win in terms of the formula, but not a win in terms of the shade. I just wish they had like slightly different undertone to suit a broader range of skin tones. Because this I'm okay with, but I don't think it's the most flattering tone on me. I'm just being picky. So again, this is another product I half agree with winning. Moving on to blushes, they included a lot of cream products in this year's list, which I understand. They've been very trendy this year in makeup. Cream products in general have just had this huge resurgence. So this is the Merit Cheek Color that was on the list. This is their older packaging. I believe it now comes in a gold base, and I have two shades here to swatch. So this is the shade Terracotta, which I actually used as a bronzer because it's this very warm undertone. And then we have Raspberry Beret, which I think is my favorite just because of this beautiful like purpley pink undertone. And when you blend these out, they give you the prettiest flush wash of color. And I do really like this like dome application, but the thing is like it does get makeup on it, and it's just like not the most sanitary, but it is really fun and easy, especially if you do your makeup on the go. It doesn't get more convenient than like a little blush dome. Super cute. I'm just gonna use my sponge to blend this one out as well. This is another one of those formulas that I do like, but I don't find that it has the most longevity on its own, because it is a cream, like thin cream, more oily type of cream. When I say oily type of cream, I just mean like a thinner, shinier cream compared to like the Saie Beauty one, which has like more of a matte feel on your fingers, even though it is glowy on the face. So it kind of depends what kind of cream you like. I personally like something a little bit thicker and slightly more matte, just so it stays longer. But anything that's like this sheer wash, usually just not my favorite. So I think the shades and packaging and just everything about this is it's a really cool product, but I would not think this is a win for every skin type. If you have drier skin or you really like cream, like thin, creamy, very glowy type of blushes, I think this is a win for you. Not my personal favorite blush of the year, but I do see the appeal in it. And then they also included the Jones Road Miracle Balms. I just haven't tried anything from Jones Road that I personally liked. I've done a lot of reviews on them. It's just not, I've come to the conclusion it's not really made for me and the type of makeup that I like. I just don't get their products necessarily, and they don't work with my skin type. This is one in Flush, which I think out of all of them, like this, I think is pretty. You have to like break into it to get the formula out correctly. And this is just like another cream blush. I will say these do have a very, very shiny effect if you like that. I'm gonna layer a little bit of this on top of the other blush. This is just another product that's not something I gravitate towards, but I do see the appeal for drier skin or more mature skin. I also just like Jones Road as a brand. I don't know. They're kind of weird in my opinion. Like when I reviewed the foundation and it like just launched, and there was a bunch of reviews on their website that like didn't say that they were incentivized to put those reviews there, but almost every single review like had it the same format of they said they liked the product and they used it with like an additional product, and they like mentioned a specific brush to go with it. And yeah, those just didn't seem totally real to me, those reviews. And yeah, I'm just not a huge fan of this. Again, do see the appeal, but I would say overall just not a win in my book. There's so many products like this that I think are better and more affordable. So there weren't any powders in the clean category, so I picked two of my favorites. The Ilia Soft Focus Finishing Powder. Years and years and years for me, this is always a winner. This one is almost empty. It is the most smoothing powder I've ever worn. It's smoothing, it's non-drying, and it does not deepen your under eyes or your skin, which is a big thing. If you have fair skin like me, you know some powders that are translucent do actually have a yellow tint or just deepen the areas that you actually want to brighten. So I absolutely love this powder. And then something for all over the face that has a bit more of a glowy finish if you like that. The Saie Air Set powder, I actually do really enjoy this one. It's called translucent, but this is one that has a slight yellowy tint to it, so that's why I like it for the face but not under the eyes. I also just think it's a little bit too shimmery for under my eyes, but if you like a glowy powder, that one's beautiful. So we're gonna go ahead and put some of this Ilia one under our eyes. This is also one of those powders that will just make any concealer look good. Like if I try a concealer and I don't like it and then I try it again with this powder, it always ends up looking better. Just kind of like a magic formula in my opinion. Just smoothing out the creases that I already have from this concealer. This is also one of those higher end products that I think is worth every penny. It's pricey, but it's just, I have not found any powder that's even similar to this. So it's just such a classic in my book. Now just taking a little bit of the Saie Beauty powder, and I'm going to lightly set the rest of my face. You can tell it just sets without taking away that natural glow, especially if you have drier skin. It's a great dry skin powder. Both these powders also work great with the Kosas foundation. I would say Ilia if you have more oily skin, it's a little bit more mattifying and oil controlling, and the Saie Beauty if you have drier skin. Still sets it, but gives you like that pretty natural finish. There weren't any brow products on the list, so I went ahead and added two of my own. Kosas Brow Pop. I think this was like one of my favorite Kosas launches of the year besides the foundation. These are really nice. I love the triangular tip that it comes with. This is actually the first product that made me like these shaped eyebrow pencils. I just never really liked them before. Soft brown, I usually use taupe, but I used it all up, so this is the one I have on hand. It is a slightly drier formula, so if you like something creamier, if you do this before powder and you have like foundation on, the foundation will help it glide a little bit better. or if you want it to be like even more pigmented, you could do it over powder. It's just a little trick with sort of tweaking your eyebrow pencil formulas. But another one that's similar that I also really enjoy is the Make Beauty Blade line. This one has a similar shaped tip. It's a little bit thicker, and this one is a bit of a creamier formula in the shade Cool Taupe. Is really great. One of my favorite things about both of these, they make really great taupe and blonde shades. So I've used both taupe and blonde of the Make Beauty one, and then for Kosas I use taupe or blonde. Both work really nicely. The blondes aren't too warm and the taupes aren't too like cool gray. It's just a really nice natural hair color. So I'm gonna go ahead and use my Make Beauty Blade line. I'm actually pretty surprised to not see any Make Beauty on the list that I looked at. They're like a cool breakout brand for me. Maybe they were on the breakout list. I don't remember exactly what was on that one. But yeah, this is such a cool new brand that has released some makeup in 2022, and their skincare is also really great. Yeah, this is just so creamy and makes it super easy to fill in my brows. I also really love that Make Beauty products. You can feel that there's effort behind these products. Some brands, you know, you can just tell that they bought like a pre-made sort of product formula and just made their own packaging and released it, but like these feel like they were actually crafted for the brand, and they're like new formulas that I haven't experienced before, especially with their lip products. They make great eyeliners. I just reviewed their new skin tints, which I will link above if you want to see that, which I'm not so sure about those yet, but like I do really feel there's some effort behind these. There wasn't any clean eyeshadow products either, which was weird, but I have two different favorites to mention. Another product from Ilia. This is again in their old packaging. This is actually completely worn off. It's supposed to look like that, but these are their necessary eyeshadow palettes. These are hugely underrated in my opinion. So we have Warm Nude, 6 shades in here, and I think that's the perfect amount of shades. You can tell I've hit pan on this color. These formulas are just really great, like creamy pigmented mattes, but they're very, very blendable and user-friendly. So I feel like you can just create so many different looks. Oh, and this metallic, very creamy metallics that aren't flaky or just like straight up glitter. Beautiful eyeshadows, I think. I also have the Cool Nude palette, which I need to pull out because I've been really interested in like cooler tones lately. This one is just as beautiful. I like how you get mostly matte shades. So there's 4 mattes and 2 shimmers. So you get these really nice shades to play around with, from everything to like everyday looks to more evening looks. I think I'm going to be using the cool one today, and I'm actually going to start in the warm one. I'm going to mix these. I'm going to start with this like mustardy shade, which you can tell I love. I know it's weird to like mix warm and cool shades, but I like to like customize and have something a bit warmer in my crease and then something more cool toned for the rest of it. I'm actually going to take a little bit of this like muted taupey brown just for the outer edge, and then I'm going to use the excess to blend into the crease, create some harmony between these 2 shades. These just blend like a dream. They are so, so good. Again, really underrated in my opinion. And they're very like travel friendly. The packaging feels great. What's not to love about these? Next, taking this very beautiful dusty lilac. I'm also going to be putting this into the crease, a little bit closer to my eye socket though. So I've been like a straight up just, I don't know what to say, not an addict, but like really set on only using like warm tones for my eyes. But I've been using cool tones lately, and I just like feel like they are slightly more flattering on me. I feel like I could do either one. Having like fair olive undertones is interesting because I do have a cool undertone, but then I have yellow overtones. So I can kind of play with each of those. But I think the coolness, like honoring my actual undertone, seems to work out. But like I did here, blending both of them, I just really like that. The shade is so, so pretty. And these mattes, they are like a true matte, but they almost have this, it's not even like a satin. They have this very skin-like look to them. so it's not a super flat, chalky matte. Just keeping with that same brush, taking this deeper berry shade. I'm actually really excited to be using this palette. I need to put this in my everyday makeup drawer for fall. These tones are just like everything I've been looking for. See how easily that just blended? These are really effortless formulas. Totally forgot to talk about the other formulas I wanted to mention. Wander Beauty eyeshadow palettes I think are also another underrated palette in my opinion. I have two here. Off Duty is probably my most used. You get way more metallics in these, so there's only like one. It's a matte shade with shimmer in it, so not a true matte, but their shimmers, they just do very well. These tones go with everything. And then we also have the Rush palette. This one's a little bit different where you get two matte shades. This one's super pretty. And then you get sort of like two more glittery metallics and then two more subtle metallics. But let me swatch you these shadows because they're just so pretty. Very fall. Again, something that's creamy but doesn't have a lot of fallout. Love them. I'm actually going to take a little bit of this matte shade called OTW just over the crease again. Another very like, I think these are actually pretty similar to the Ilia formulas where they're very blendable and they look like skin and they're just very effortless. Ooh, I made it like nice and smoky. Next I'm going to take this very gorgeous, more taupey mid-tone shimmer from the Ilia palette and I'm just going to pat that on the outer portion of my eye. I really think this palette does a good job at being purple but not too red, because that's my issue with a lot of like cool tone palettes is they're just like too red based, and when you blend them out they kind of turn out to be warm, but these when they're blended out they still have that cool muted like more edgy look to them and they're just really great. Also metallic that you can apply with a brush with no fallout. Very rare. Super pretty. I know I'm like raving about them, but I really do enjoy them. And then from the Wander palette I'm going to take this shade which is called Charge. I'm going to take the other side of this brush and this I'm going to pop on the inner portion, and since this has like a very slight warm-ish undertone, it's going to tie in the warmer color that we put in the crease. You could also totally use this as a highlight. Just one of those like glassy looking shades. For eyeliners I found the About Face liners not on the clean list but on a different list, and these are their new gel liners. I definitely agree that these have their place on the list. They're super creamy, blendable, but they stay put and don't like flake off, so I'm gonna go ahead and swatch these for you. They also have a ton of unique shades. Let me just show you how easily this goes on. I know I'm like swatching over something else. Like they're just creamy and pigmented, and the uniqueness of these like warm shades. I've been looking for something like this red one forever, and they came out and I was like, yes, like this is the interesting shades that I'm after. So I'm gonna take this deep purple eggplant shade as a liner today, and I'm probably gonna end up smoking it out a little bit with more of the Ilia shadow just to show you. So I went ahead and smoked out that liner with both this Ilia shade and the shimmery one, and also a little bit of the lighter one on the bottom to create more of a gradient. Next up, the mascara that was on the mascara list was the Calorie Come Hell or High Water tubing mascara. When I tried this, I really liked it, but I think that the wand picks up too much product. Like it just picks up an absurd amount of product. So I think this formula with a different wand would be a big hit for me, because I do just end up scraping off so much of the product, and even when I do that there's still a lot left. It also tends to be very messy because it's a wet formula, so I'm going to be very careful. But it does have a very pretty effect. It's one of those types of mascaras, it's just a little messy. So yeah, I love the effect. It's very dramatic and black and it gives you both volume and length. But you gotta be careful with things like that and just getting it on top of your eyeshadow. I'm actually pretty surprised not to see the Maybelline Sky High mascara on there. That's my favorite. It's not clean, but that's just like my favorite mascara of the year that I've been repurchasing. This is another one I semi-agree with. Formula's great, brush could be better. Yeah, I don't know. All right, we're definitely gonna need to let that dry before we try to remove it. So let's move on to the lips. Another category, there wasn't any clean products listed, so I picked something that I think should have been on the list, and that is the Merit lipstick. These came out and they just quickly became my favorite. Not only is the packaging really beautiful and unique, but the shades and the formula are kind of like everything I would want in a lipstick, in a more creamy lipstick. They're very buildable and moisturizing. This is the shade 1990, which is a very 90s brown. And then my favorite, which is Baby. This is such a good nude pink. Really hard to get a nude pink right, especially for me, like on my undertone. But this one has like a neutral, like very neutral, almost like slightly coolish tone, which is so flattering on me. And this is just one of those like everyday lipsticks that I always reach for. So I'm gonna go ahead and put Baby on today. Isn't it just so nice? Like, it's one of those moisturizing formulas that doesn't sink into lines and still gives you like nice even opaque-ish coverage. And I feel like the shade just goes with everything. And then we have a couple glosses. First is the Victoria Beckham Posh gloss. Definitely agree with this being a winner. It's a like plush, creamy, non-sticky lip gloss, but it's not too thin. And this clear one is just perfect. Their packaging is beautiful. It just does what it needs to do. And this, it just gives you that like very glossy, clear look. And I can't argue with this. It's really a classic. And then they also mentioned the Pley Beauty glosses, which I was very excited to see Pley on the list because they're another like new fun brand that launched this year that I think stuck out to me for being unique and having really cool formulas. So these are their lip gloss lacquers, and I will swatch all three shades. This first one is Lupe, which like these glosses, if you want pigment, it's actually like a full pigment lip gloss. But then they also have these sheer glittery shades. So they have something for everybody. These also have a nice creamy formula that's not sticky. This one is Carmen, which is clear but has this purpley blue glitter through it. And then we also have the shade Ava, which is like, this one you can tell has a little bit more pigment in it. It is like a, let's see, gold, pink, purple glitter, but it has a bit more of like a nude base to it. So I think, might go in with the more cool toned glittery one. Yeah, let's do this one. They smell like a little bit like candy. Not a huge fan of, like I wish they were kind of just like mellowly scented, like the Victoria Beckham one. Like literally doesn't have any noticeable scent to me, which is nice. These do have a slight grit to them, the glittery shades, because of the glitter, which is not ideal, but I don't find that it's that noticeable because they have this super creamy, glossy, slightly thinner base to them. So if you don't like that feeling, I would probably stick with the like matte shades that they offer, like this one. So that was everything for my Allure Best of Clean Beauty look. I hope you really enjoyed this video and found it helpful. I'd love to know in the comments below if there was something on this list that you either agree or disagree with, or let me know something you were thinking would end up on this list but didn't, or you could just let me know your favorite product of 2022 so far. A lot of gems in here, a couple I agree with and a couple that I just don't think are that great. But don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already and give this video a thumbs up. But I will see you all in my next video. Bye.